Hey everyone, thanks everyone for joining in here. We're super excited to have you here for the first of our webinar series where we try to demystify everything which is happening in AI world, all the hype around it, and especially focused on our freight forwarding partners and our logistics service providers here. I think we have a good gang over here. We have people from the freight forwarding community joining us today. We also have people from the logistics tech industry joining here today. So super excited to be here. My name is Sumeet. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Starboard. I've been in the industry for close to 12 plus years now. Started my career with Maersk, where I rotated around different functions. Started from an account executive to finally head their freight forwarding business in South Asia. Did a stint with a trucking startup in India. Worked with Boston Consulting Group for a couple of years, and my last stint, I was the founding GM for Flexport in Canada. And it was during that time that I realized that if we could unlock the power of AI for freight forwarders, we would help our freight forwarding partners to win more business, to service their clients better. And that's what led me to found Starboard. And I met Junyu, who's my partner in crime in this journey, and our CTO. So what do we want to achieve here? There's been a lot of hype over AI. We do hear about DeepSeek the other day. We've heard President Trump launch, along with some industry leaders, launching a $500 billion initiative on AI. We see new models of AI. Uh, it seems, Junior, you are on mute. Can you speak something so we just confirm if the audience can hear you?
Hello?
Can somebody in the audience confirm if you can hear Junior now?
Oh, I can rejoin.
I can hear you. Yeah, okay, you can be heard now. Um, so what is it that we wanted to cover here over the next 30 to 45 minutes we have here? So first is just to understand what AI first systems are all about. I'm sure everybody here is familiar with some kind of ERP systems. Everybody has worked probably with CargoWise or GoFit or any of these systems. What's the difference between these and AI first systems? Then we do hear a lot of terminologies like SaaS, ML, RAGs. What do these means and what it implies, especially for us in the industry? And then if you're out in the market looking for a AI first system or you want to experiment how this can help you, then what to look for and what some key considerations there. I'll also take a pause. Anything else which anybody over here wants us to cover, we would love to include that as part of the discussion here. But this discussion is a very open forum. Me and Junyu will be discussing. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat over here. We'll try to take it as many questions as possible. But if you want anything else, just write it in the chat and we'll try to cover that as well during the discussion. So let's kick it off. I think Junior, so like my background has been more in the sales on the freight forwarding operation side of the business. I'm not the tech guy here, and sometimes I get confused with all the terminologies and everything I hear about AI. First, can you like demystify for us like what's the difference between a traditional ERP system like Oracle, SAP, or maybe even CargoWise closer to our industry and AI first systems? Like what's this hype about? What's the real difference? Uh, and can you explain us more like a 8-year-old person so all of us can understand here?
Yeah, I think you're being very modest. I can try my best to explain what traditional coding is and what is AI wave is all about. So like we're talking about like the traditional coding versus like there's like a new wave of AI first software. I think like roughly around like late 90s and early 2000, there like a big wave of building traditional software. The kind of the mantra there is it translate like a group of programmers going into an industry. They observe the world and they kind of abstract the rules out of what they observe, and they take a lot of time to anticipate all the scenario and painstakingly codify that into a language that computers can understand, and then they kind of like solidify that and ship it out as a software. And by the time they're done, the software stop to upgrade, and whatever as a user, whatever you get is what you have, and there's no more update until the engineer, the programmer decide to work on it again. So that's kind of the old mantra. And the AI first approach is kind of have like the software shipped with like a weekly held hypothesis of how the world is, and as the user use it more, they keep updating the knowledge internally and understand the complex world just as how complex it is, and they learn from the real world examples and keep updating itself. And over time becomes super smart. That's kind of the new mantra for AI first software. The good news is like it can handle a lot of different complex scenarios. It can be industry specific knowledge, and it can be also be how your business is operating as a user, that fits only you.
That's very interesting what you said. I think the key takeaway, which really stuck with me towards the end, what you were saying was, like with the traditional ERP system, you have to either adopt your business to the system, or you have to spend millions of dollars in customizations. Like I remember when I was a freight forwarder in my earlier days, like I would often, like when I would try to onboard a new client, I would have to tell them, hey, we can't do this thing because the system doesn't process it, or I can't produce the document in this format, or you need to do this thing because that's how process is. And if I heard you correct, what you're saying is an AI first system doesn't need to be customized to a standardized process. It learns different processes on its own, and it lets you run the business the way you want to run. So tomorrow, as a freight forwarder or as a salesperson, like I can go to a client and say, okay, if this is your process, our system will learn this process and probably even improve it. But you can let your business run the way you want to, and you still get the efficiency of working with any traditional ERP system, while making sure that you can customize the process around the client, which is very key to our industry. Like our industry has millions of importers, millions of truckers, and everybody has their own SOP. So an AI first system can, what you're talking is customize it to specific client requirements. So that seems pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Another thing you spoke about there was like the AI first system starts with a beginning hypothesis. So it's like an untrained operator on the first day, and then it becomes better with time. How much time does it really take for the untrained operator to basically become better? Because that's also probably key. Can you like give us an estimate, or like what should we be expecting if we put an untrained operator day one, and then versus like putting a fully polished system out, which like some systems advertise themselves saying that they've put millions of engineering hours in building that system, but in AI you're basically learning every day there.
yeah. I think like AI really learn by examples instead of learn by hard-coded rules, hard and fast rules. And I think like you mentioned something very interesting. It's like in this industry that exceptions are the norm. You kind of have to constantly expect new exceptions. So like AI really thrive in that kind of environment where it just like take more examples. So instead of like, okay, this is like a operator with 10 years of experience, we will look at the AI is like how much data have we fed the AI with. All these like large language model, they're like shipped with some knowledge of how the world works, but the industry specific knowledge is really depends on how much like examples or industry like generalized norm that you fit into the AI. That's kind of how much like it's gonna take. So on the lower end, you have companies ship with the software just like a wrapper of ChatGPT. But on the high end, like the company can go through a lot of processes, collect their own data, and give it to the AI for training, and that AI will perform drastically different from the AI just like fresh out of school, so to speak.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So what you're saying is like the time an AI model or an AI first system will take to adapt to a particular client state is not dependent on actual time frame. It's dependent on how much data it is fed with. And usually like an AI first system will already be trained. So it's like a trained operator joining you on day one, and as you run more and more transaction shipments through the platform, it becomes better and better with that, and eventually starts learning all the nuances of your business. Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. But like we spoke very let's dive a bit deeper. We spoke about like AI first systems, but it's not only AI which I keep hearing every day. Like if you open news or if you just type on Google or AI, also you learn, like, you hear terms like AI, machine learning, large language models. Like, to me as a non-tech person, all I actually use these terms interchangeably. Like, to me, like, they basically mean more or less the same thing. Is there any difference between these terms? Like, can you just explain it to us? Like, what do all these terms mean? And like, and we can see what does it imply for our industry particularly.
Yeah, sure. I think like those are very confusing for terms and being thrown a lot in the news. I can totally see why they're confusing. So there are actually three levels of like this, like in terms of scale, the concept of the concept. The biggest concept is AI. Actually, it's just like artificial intelligence. Any intelligence that's not human and it's probably most likely created by human is artificial intelligence. That's like the traditional software, although they're like codified by rules, they're also actually artificial intelligence. But underneath that, the newer concept is machine learning. Roughly, that started like about 10 years back. Actually, the concept is actually not that new, but the recent boom in computer power really make it powerful. What that means is if I'm a operator trying to, if you ask me to predict what the weather like tomorrow, is it going to rain or not, on day one, I maybe very naive. I just take a very naive approach where, if it's a summer, I'll predict it's raining. If it's winter, I'll predict it's not raining. Well, like on the very broad stroke, I may be more right than wrong, but on a day-to-day basis, I may be like very wrong almost every single day. But like as I'm doing this job more and more, I see more weather patterns and I see more data coming in. I start to learn, okay, there's humidity, there's like month of the year, there's like temperature, etc., etc. I start to accumulate more experience, and then I keep updating my knowledge, and I probably get pretty good at it. Like after seeing, let's say, like 100 million data points, that's how machine learning learn from the real world experiences. And now the most recent rise of large language model, or LLM, that's kind of just like a general terms for chat GPT. They're a subset of machine learning model. They're trained on large blob of text data. Their whole purpose is predict what the person is trying to say next. In the beginning, it was just like not very interesting, but as it really learn a lot, people start to realize this model can have reasoning capabilities and can solve complex problems such as coding or programming. So that becomes a new revolution in the AI space, where you can give the AI just human-based, human language, natural language instructions, and the AI can do stuff based on that. That become very interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, like, if I understand correctly, AI is basically giving the machine, like any computer, decision making power. Like, and what you said, the kind of AI has existed for a long period of time. Like, if you go to a bank and it allows you to, like, if you go to a banking website, it allows you to withdraw money because you have some balance which is more than what you're withdrawing. That's kind of it's an if and then decision. That's kind of very simplified AI, if I understand it correct. More advanced AI is closer to machine learning, where you are given a problem. Hey, try to predict whether it's going to rain today, or try to predict this thing, and it uses more and more data every day, and it makes, that's why basically learning like a human. Like, that's how a child would learn. They would make some assumption, they
Yeah.
would try it out. If it works, they learn this works. If it doesn't work, they learn this doesn't work. And that's how we as humans also learn. So machine learning comes more closer to human experiential learning over here. And then like large language learning models is pretty interesting, because till now machines and humans have been separated towards each other. You needed always an army of coders between you to interact with machines over there. And this is for the first time that you can actually, humans can directly connect to a machine without any intermediary between them, because you can actually give instruction to a machine in English, and or French. We have a couple of French speakers here as well. So you can give instructions to the machines in English or French, and like or whichever language you want to, and it understands that and processes it. So this.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Like there's like a new saying that English is the new most popular coding language in 2020s. I mean, yeah, there's French as well, of course. I think that's kind of interesting. Like I think it's like a huge democratization, or it's a new democracy going on, where before in this regime, it's very like top down, like whatever the programmers or the companies decide how the world should be look like. There's no way of changing it. As a user, you can, either you're paying for it, that's kind of your tax dollar. You kind of like have to either just make your voice heard by the programmers, or you have to just work around it. But nowadays, you can just give the AI more data that fits your need, and the AI will adopt just naturally. And also you can give large language model or ChatGPT instructions, and they will learn from your instructions, such as SOP.
Yeah, that's it. So, like coming back to our industry, like I think, for example, AI kind of has existed somewhat in our industry because even the traditional systems had some kind of decision-making power. But what it means new in the AI first system probably is like, hey, the system can decide whether to release this document or not, or whether to release this payment or not, because that's the decision-making power we are eventually going to start giving it to the systems, and which frees more space for frontline operators to do core work of building relationships, of selling into customers, rather than doing more more operations or more like nuanced, more like regular tasks around there. Machine learning is like there's a lot of applications I can already see, as you say, about it in our industry. Like for example, route predictions. Like we know, I think all of us have been there when we told some customer that this container is going to arrive on port on the first, and because that's what the shipping line website was saying, but of course the website was never updated, or there was some delay on the way and it got delayed. But now using machine learning, the models can predict, hey, this container is going to get delayed by this much, so your customer can plan better. And we kind of incorporate some of this in our operating system on a day-to-day basis. And similarly, pricing I think is a big application. Like in our industry, pricing has become more of an art than a science, but machine learning can learn from huge amount of data sets to say, okay, Junyu is probably a price seeker. He's always going to go to 15 freight forwarders and get the best price. Whereas Sumeet is probably not that much of a price seeker. He'll probably accept a higher markup, so they can differentiate. And to me, the interesting thing was, you remember when I was in California last, we were trying to book that Uber, and you and
Yeah,
both of us tried to book the Uber at the same time to the
different.
same place, and we were shown a price which was like 15% different. And if we didn't know it, we would have both booked the Uber their time. Like the machine learning pricing algorithm of Uber is so intelligent, it's able to figure out how much markup each of us is ready to accept, and able like, and that's how they make a ton more money not compared to a normal taxi player.
Yeah, yeah, they can be very specific. I think like even the how much battery is left in your phone is being sent to Uber. They can like gauge if you're how desperate you are. I'm not like a big fan of being on the receiver end, but if we are the people controlling the AI, that will be a pretty powerful thing.
And then I think large language learning, like our industry runs on emails, WhatsApp chats, WeChats. Like our industry doesn't run on any API call or any system. Our industry runs on phone calls and all this stuff. And large language learning models have a lot of applications. I can totally see like large language learning models getting integrated into the email system, replying to email requests or freight forwarder, reading PDF documents. I mean, there's ton of different PDF documents in different formats, Excel documents, and LLMs can ingest that, convert that into a structured database, which can then unlock the power of traditional systems out there. So we've always said that email is the default API which connects different systems in global trade together. And now with large language learning models, we can directly push data from emails, from documents, from WhatsApp chats, even from voice agents, which is what we have been thinking about launching next on Starboard, is voice enabled agents, which can directly transfer all this data into an operating system and launch it. So that seems pretty interesting to me. More, this seems like more of sci-fi thing, Junyu. Like this seems like we're basically talking about doing some of the stuff which, at least me, when I came into the industry a decade back, I couldn't even imagine computers handling these things. So tell me, like, is this really sci-fi or is this a reality? Like, how far are we from achieving this, some of these examples, some of these realities? And if anybody in the audience has more examples or they want to ask Junyu, probably like, if this is something AI can do, feel free to like drop in a message to us and we'll take it.
Yeah. I can answer your question first, and then let's see what the audience have. I think like it's very doable if you think about it. So like the key part is reasoning, and we have like pretty recent breakthrough on that. You can see like we all of a sudden we inherited like a very bright college fresh grad. What we're doing in the industry here is kind of give that fresh grad a lot of the context for how this industry works. The ChatGPT and the large language model is more like a generalist intelligence model. If you just trying to solve problem with like a out of the box large language model, you will be fairly disappointed. And a lot of things just doesn't fit this industry. What we can do here is like we feed a lot of the industry knowledge and the data into the large language model to make it more intelligent, and we build like a good software around it. And then that makes a lot of things possible. And beyond that, we can add like voice capability. That just like one adapter of different kind of data input. And then you also mentioned emails and PDFs. All these are additional adapter to this base of system on top of the general intelligence. And then also eventually we need help from the end users, where they will put in a lot more knowledge about how their specific company is working. So for example, you have like your standard SOP, but beyond that, you also have a lot of just day-to-day operational knowledge that can be only inferred by seeing examples. That's kind of more natural to how humans learn. We go in there and trying to learn as much as possible through asking questions, but eventually we just have to observe and try to learn by doing.
Yeah, so what you're saying is like what we've always held, like there's an 80-20 rule in learning, which is like 80% learning always happens on the job and 20% happens in a classroom. So like when you get an AI agent first, the 20% classroom learning has probably already been done, like maybe probably more than 20%, because um, the company which is selling you that AI agent, can be Starboard, can be somebody else, has already taken a ton of data and trained AI. So it's basically on the first, it's more like a operator who is like 5 to 8 years experience in pricing and operations or something like that. But then they really need to come into the job. They really need to like start running shipments with you, and become and understand the nuances of your business there. But there's also this term which we keep hearing always, which is a RAG, which is very important to learn, how help AI learn. So what is this RAG like, and how does it work? How does it help the AI learn better?
Yeah, you can think of RAG as like still treat AI as a student or a person. The RAG is kind of like an open book test where if you just like blindly ask, what's the how much is like should we price this container? Normally like they can make an educated guess, but a lot of things doesn't really happen. It doesn't really know because the data is like probably 2023. That's the latest model. So you can feed a lot more information. For example, which customers are you dealing with? Like let's say your pricing Junyu, he's always a price seeker. Make sure these are the items he's always looking for to get the best rate. Or you can feed in the latest like a market intelligence to make this AI more intelligent based on the latest update of the world. That's kind of in the nutshell what RAG is doing. I think you're on mute, Sumeet.
Sorry. So when you talk about like training an AI model using data from a freight forwarder or like doing on the job, like how much work does a freight forwarder have to do to train their models? Like, do they have to like because a big problem in our industry is the data is very unclean, it's very dirty. So how long is that process? How complicated is that process? Um, can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think like it really kind of depends on who you're buying the software from. Like if again, like if you get a software that's kind of like a merely a wrapper of ChatGPT, you will have a long way to go. Because just like training an AI will take a lot of data and also a lot of thinking of how the software is designed. The software is kind of giving AI like a set of rules how you learn from real world data. If that rule is pretty badly written, the AI will learn more slowly. And whereas like if the company who is building the software put in a lot of effort in pre-training the model and like setting smart rules about how to handle the learning, that process can go relatively like pretty fast. Generally we see like data, like a good learning process can take like as few as like 50 samples or maybe 150 to 100 samples that the AI can learn pretty well about how your specific business are doing your job. But even before that, when they ship out of the box, because they have pre-learned a lot of the industry knowledge, they should perform relatively well.
We have a question in the chat. Thanks, Martin, for asking this question. So, Martin is asking like AI in track and trace has been in the space for some time, but like most of the players have been struggling financially, and what's the reason for that? So I think like actually we pondered over this question a lot before we launched Starboard. Like, why did these players? I mean, they were great to start the industry and take the industry into the next level, but why would they not succeed so much? So I think there are three reasons for that. So first is like many of these players were actually not pure machine learning AI. They were actually like just aggregators of data from carriers and transforming it to players. But even if there was some machine learning and AI around it, like visibility alone doesn't mean anything for either logistics service provider or the end customer. Like the real thing is to combine visibility data with actionable. So if I know this container is getting delayed, yes, that's good, but what does it imply downstream in the process? Like most of these companies just give you source it. That's like, to me it's like having oil without having the automobile, or having gas without having the car to run, to use the gas in. So I know this container is getting delayed, but what does it mean, and what actions do I take? Like that's something for the human to figure out. And that's something which we have tried to change with the AI operating system that we built in for freight forwarders, where we take all this visibility data, we clean this data up. A lot of times this data is pretty bad to be
Mm.
used up, so we clean all this data using different large language learning models, and then we convert into actionable actions, not actionable insights, but actually pure action. So for example, let's take an example. Your container is getting delayed. So what does that mean? If your container is getting delayed, that means you need to delay the release of your pre-alert to your customer. You need to update that pre-alert. You need to change the DO dates. You need to renegotiate with the trucker to pick up at the same time. And what our AI system does, it immediately recognizes and that this delay has action. It needs to take these 3 4 actions immediately to make sure the shipment is on track. And you need to probably inform the customer and their warehouse. So these actions automatically are done by the AI agent. So I think that data. So what we are doing now, or what companies, our competitors might be doing now, is giving, like we always had the fuel, which is the data, but now we actually have a car on which you can put this fuel or this gas in to actually make sense out of that data and use it on a daily basis. There. Does that answer your question, Martin? Or let me know if there's any follow-up question. Happy to answer that as well. Okay, we can probably continue till Martin replies back. So we spoke. I think this was a good segue basically into like we hear a lot of about AI in freight forwarding, and we see like a lot of companies coming up with some kind of use cases around AI. So and everything we discussed about, like to personally to me as a freight forwarder, sounds great. It's like if this thing really works, it's like dream come true. But what can go wrong? Like there's when everything is so great, there's always some things which can go wrong. So what do you think, Junyu? Can you help us understand what can go wrong and what are some things people in this room should take care of before deciding to buy an AI enabled system or deciding to partner with a company which is an AI first company here?
Sure. Yeah, I think like there's like a lot of players. There's like a lot of companies claim that they have some sort of AI. So as a consumer or like a buyer of the software, how do I differentiate? I think there are like three things you can pay closer attention to. The first thing is information security. We know that large language model is trained on a lot of data. So that means they're always hungry for more data. And then like because that goes into the model, it may leak to the general public. So as a free forwarder, where you're thinking about like you always want to ask question, is this company taking my data for further training, and how's my data going to be used, because like they will take everything if you let them, and there are like sensitive things like customer contacts or your pricing strategy and whatnot. If those data being ended in the general public model, or being used for other customers of this company, that'll be pretty detrimental to your own business. So I will be very careful to read the fine print how this company is using your data, or even the large language model behind it using your data. The second thing is like hallucination. That's just like a fancy term of when the AI is making mistakes. We know that AI is constantly learning, and as a student, when they're learning, they can make mistakes. So it's kind of up to the software designer how they want to handle the situations when AI is making mistakes. A good rule of thumb right now is still human in the loop. That means there's always a human operator there. But before, the human have to do everything from scratch. But now human become like a judge of or approver of the work coming out of AI. That's still like 90% efficiency gain. But how to expose the work, or expose the part that's most critical to mistakes to the human operator for approval, it's kind of an intricate process to design. So how the company is handling that when AI is making mistakes is very important, especially in the free forwarding industry. There's like pretty big consequences. You don't want to pay the wrong people. You don't want to send AI to send the wrong doc to the wrong people. So that's a pretty critical point. And the last one is how much this company have done from like a general AI. We all know like ChatGPT is out there, is pretty smart. If the company is like trying to ship something very fast, ship the software pretty fast, they probably haven't done a lot in terms of like pre-trained AI based on industry specific knowledge, or the team doesn't have a lot of industry knowledge. They can just like come in and hold like a very naive understanding of the industry. That means as a user, you will have a hard time using that data, that AI, that software out of the box, and you will have to do a lot more. That kind of like putting into the analogy of the student. Are you hiring like a fresh college grad, or you're hiring like a operator with 10 years of experience? That's something you always want to look into. How you can make a fair, good judgment once you start using the software, test run the software. Does this really speak the language of the free forwarding industry, or this is kind of like a more generic thing out of the box? Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, just to summarize, I think the most important to me, like what got my ears like really rolled up was around data security. Like AI gets trained on data, and like we don't want any data breaches. Like a freight forward doesn't want their client list to be rolled out in chat GPT to somebody else, or they don't want like confidential shipper data to go out. So that's like at least I know when we started building the system, like there was a lot of focus on getting the security protocols in place, make sure we have enterprise level data agreements, and we don't go with any open LLM source which is training models, using your data to train models in. So that's very important, I think. And also mistakes, like mistakes are very costly in our industry. Like one mistake even by a human operator like can basically cost you profit of previous 100 or 200 files out together. So that's why I think a software which is built on first design principle, saying like these are the critical errors, and there's always either a human or a system checking the result of AI. Like there are two kinds of checks which actually we put in our system. One is the human in loop system, where the human, all the critical decisions, like let's say the final code going out, the human reviews it always before sending it out. And the second is like not so critical decision, where we put a system check on it. Like even if the AI is making a decision, there's another AI or another system checking whether that decision is right or wrong. That's pretty important. And then is, yes, like how much data has the AI been trained on? Is it like a first year operator, or is it like a fifth year operator out there? So those are like, I think, some good things to ask the AI service provider or the company you want to partner with. And if anybody is interested in looking at what we have built, we are happy to jump on a call with you, show you a demo, and discuss more on how AI can change the industry going forward. We have a couple of minutes left, and so wanted to open it up for any questions from the audience, anything you may want to ask on, any comments or any feedback around this. Would love to hear from you guys as well. So I think there was, while we wait for audience to ask questions, there were a couple of questions which were thrown to us before the session. So I think we covered most of them during this, but there was one question around the fact that a lot of carriers, a lot of like operators, like one of the struggles always in our industry has been that there's no standardization of processes, and how much is the AI first system dependent on standardizing processes or integrating with carriers. Like what if some major carriers or major airlines don't want to partner with this system, and how does it work? And so I think this actually is one of the biggest advantages of AI. There a lot of systems earlier tried to create marketplace, and one of the biggest struggles in our industry has been the lack of standardization. Carriers cannot agree to one standard data protocol. Freight forwarders vary on standard data protocol, so it's very different. But think about AI as that plugin which converts data from one carrier format to another carrier format, or from one customer format to another customer format. And that basically means people can continue operating with their standard processes, with their standard data protocols, and the LLM based systems or the AI based system can plug into different systems, and allow you to operate seamlessly. So we actually, for the first time, have technology where we don't need to get everybody on board into a single data protocol. It's pretty difficult, it's pretty expensive to change your data protocols, to change your processes. So all the parties in the freight forwarding industry can continue operating with their standard set of processes and protocols, while the AI first system is able to plug in data from one format to another and make it work for everyone. So I guess we have no more questions. So I would like to thank every one of you for joining us, taking time here, listening to us. And if you have any questions, feel free to email it to us, DM it to me or Junyu, and we'll be happy to like answer those questions and jump in on a discussion if needed. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend ahead.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Have a good one.